Welcome to Biblical Christian Content, where we like to keep the content biblical. Let's go.
Do you foresee more persecution of the church in the future?
Yeah, I think we're in the middle of a total takeover by totalitarianism. I think it's the end of freedom and democracy as we've known it in America and maybe even globally. It's setting up for Antichrist world where somebody can take over everything and there can be a massive slaughter of people who don't do what they're told. So I think, from my standpoint, I would say this is the world that looks like it's prepared for Antichrist to dominate it. We're all being prepared for that kind of global power, that global leadership. So I don't think there'll be a lessening of persecution because we've passed this is not just post-Christian America, this is anti-Christian America. I don't think you turn that around. I don't think there's any way to turn the universities around. I think the universities are the hotbed of God-hating philosophy, and they're producing all the elites. So I think the church will experience more persecution because they want to take away freedoms. There's only two possible forms of government. One is that people rule themselves, and the government exists to protect that freedom. The other is that the government dominates them, and they have no freedom. Right now, we're moving from the first to the second. And systematically, people are giving up their freedom for the government to take care of them. That's the mindset and the mentality that it takes. In order to pull that off, you have to be lied to. Truth has to be obscured. Chaos has to reign. You can't get the answer to anything. And in the ignorance and the darkness and the chaos and the confusion, people's fear causes them to depend on those who are going to take care of them, and that's where you make the shift. So I think the totalitarianism that's going to come is going to be basically imposed on us by godless, Christ-hating, Bible-hating, anti-Christian forces. They may not be overt about that. So the only thing that I would say that's going to alter that would be an act of divine judgment. And it could be that it's not yet the time for Christ to come. There could be a judgment that would be tantamount to the fall of Rome, where the entire America as we know it catapults into some horrific catastrophes socially and culturally. And we're already there morally. God has every right to destroy us at this point. So I don't see that turning around. I think God will call out his church and there will be a remnant in the midst of this. But I think it's largely an Isaiah 6 thing where we're going to preach and they're not going to listen. We're going to show them and they're not going to see, and they're not going to repent and they're not going to turn. And we're going to be preaching to a remnant as Isaiah did.